morning, everybody.
Yeah.
My name is Sonia Carey, and I am President Emeritus for the North Bay Electric Auto Association, a chapter of the NBEAA, the Electric Vehicle Association. And I was invited to do the initial presenting this morning, and we're here in a local spot at Dominic's home, in his garage.
With the saws. Yeah.
We're not in his garage. His garage is next door. This is the shop.
That's right.
Yeah. And Cecilia will be advancing the slides, right? I won't touch anymore. There you go.
Oops.
Started recording. All right. So we like to just touch on what our COVID-19 levels are. They're low right now. We're in good shape. We might take a moment just to say that we're here at Dominic's because we have been uninvited to be at Sonoma Clean Power Advanced Energy Center. They are allowing hosting of maybe 4 meetings a year, and they said you've already had 4. So you know, they've been really kind to host us, and I think they want to have like a cycling new membership. So if we ever have a public event, they're willing to host that. And so at some point we might need to talk about you know, where we can meet going forward and what are some good venues for that.
Hey, I have a question about presentation. When we did that this year at their site, the people did not sit on top of the slide deck. What did we do differently this time?
Well,
They're on the side now.
I like it.
No, they're in the middle of the slide.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, where are you going? Where are you going?
I'm just trying to get the rest of the slide on here.
You made
Oh, I made it bigger. I want to make it smaller. Yeah, you're right.
also there's
Yeah.
there's a little button.
How's that?
Go left or go to your right.
Trying to say that.
How's that?
Twist it
Good. Just your left
your right.
hand
Twist it toward your right.
Towards my right, like that?
Yeah.
And then
Okay, you gotta push the
sometimes
projector.
Not that.
you just
Now you can also,
okay.
that projector also has a zoom
Yeah,
and a keystone.
and a keystone. I know.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Now we see the
Better.
whole slide.
All right. Okay, so our agenda here, we're going to do intros, chapter business, events and offers, the news, and then we're going to attempt to move outside at some point in the meeting. So we'll see how we can do that.
Yeah, so I just think at that point, there's a presentation for the car and we just walk through the car for people that are present.
Well,
Okay.
I can pick up the laptop and with the camera
We can try to
and
do
walk
that.
along.
That's probably gonna be your phones.
Yeah, with the phones.
Project
Yeah.
situation. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Maybe
Can we
record
move
that.
forward? Intros, who are you and how do you get around? We'll move to the back of the room first here. David.
Okay, and where's the microphone that's picking this up?
Right
Right
there.
over here.
Okay, so David Harris, I'm actually wearing my name tag
Nice.
that they send you from Electric Auto Association. This one, the YC I got in 2015, but I have renewed my membership. I came in our 2017 Bolt today, but we have a saga of thinking we were going to buy out our 2020 Leaf lease, but we made a quick decision to buy a lease return of a 2020 SV Plus, and because it was priced under 25,000, it qualifies for the 4,000 tax credit. So it ended up costing the same as if we'd have bought out our not plus.
That's good information. So if you buy out a lease, it's considered a used car purchase and eligible for 4,000.
Correct.
All right, Brad.
Hi, I'm Brad. I live in Santa Rosa. I drive a 2004 Honda Civic Hybrid with 185,000 miles or so, and eventually I'll get an EV.
All right.
I'm Christina Henson. I'm actually just searching for my first EV.
All right.
I tore carpooled in a Bolt with Steve today. At some point I want to talk about the next carbon conversation, which is about EVs and affordability and so forth. So
Okay.
maybe not this second, but maybe there's a minute in there. Rest of the agenda.
And Steve Pierce from Sebastopol, I drive a 2015 Nissan Leaf, and I'm looking to upgrade. Either a Bolt or waiting for something in 2024, because the choices are not the greatest right now for something more affordable.
Alright.
Yeah, I think affordability is in the past at this point, for even in the entire auto market, it's not just EVs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing below 40 grand right now.
In the new.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
But,
used might be an option
yeah.
these days.
Yeah, you probably
But
cheap
you
to
were-
afford.
Well,
Yeah.
used.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That's another story.
So I'm John Eaglemart, and the camera is let's see, we're talking about today about my wife's EV6, and so we just got that, and then I drive a pickup truck, and when I'm on a pickup truck, I usually drive a bike if I'm in town. My electric bike, I put that thing at max and get around Sebastopol as fast as any car, point to point, door to door. I don't have to park it, the fight with parking, just bike everywhere.
Great.
I'm Jerry Glazer. I'm still driving the 2018 Leaf. And we continue to talk about shopping for a new car, and either the EV6, the Ioniq 5, and I also looked at the Nissan. So they all have the features that we talked about 2 meetings ago that I was interested in, with the exception of the Nissan not having a 350 volt, 350 kilowatt charging, only has 150 kilowatt charging. But most of the stations today don't seem to be pushing the full 350 most of the time.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
John P.
To unmute. Yeah, thanks. You're still driving the pickup that Ellen and I converted and now running on a Nissan Leaf motor. I missed the last meeting because I was on a trip to my family's property near Marysville. And it was a 150-mile trip, and I charged at Davis, had a really good time. It'll go about 100 miles if I'm careful. So there's a 13 kilowatt level 2 charger at Davis, and I took along an extra charger from Thunderstruck at work. So I was able to get 9 kilowatts into it. It took 2.5 hours to charge or something. That was kind of cool. Had a lot of traffic at McDonald's with people coming in looking at the car, so that was great. Anyway, truck's still driving.
Great. Cecilia, would you like to go next?
Sure, I'm Cecilia Sullivan, president of NBEAA. I drive a 2018 Model 3, and that is my primary means of getting around if I'm not walking or maybe biking.
Can you tell us about your shirt?
This shirt is, I got this from Transportable. They did, they have a few shirts. This is the 1.21 gigawatts. It's got the Tesla power, what is it? I forgot what they call them. They're not walls, but they're the bigger ones. And the DeLorean, just for that.
That is fun. I see David Heacock.
I am David Heacock. I live in Fairfield, and mostly these days I've been driving my wife's 2007 Saturn Hybrid. I'm doing a whole bunch of other minor things to my Avani, so I haven't had it out of the garage much, but still running fine.
Oh, great. Bo Lauren.
I live just north of Roanoke Park in a sort of rural area. I share sheep with my neighbors for keeping our grass trim and wildfire safe. I drive a 2014 Nissan Leaf that I bought just off lease in 2017 for $8,000 cash.
Nice.
It has cost me zero since then, maybe $30 a month to charge, but it only has a range of about 40 now. And I wish I had something with more range, but all the used cars got almost as expensive as new cars, and all the new cars are too expensive. And I was actually sort of thinking of buying a used Tesla last week, but my neighbors said, you know, you can borrow our car when you need to go a little further. Don't drop $30,000 on that. So I'm waiting. I bicycle a lot, and I wish I could bicycle, but from my house, can't go anywhere without getting on Santa Rosa Avenue or Petaluma Hill Road, and it isn't safe. So I never bicycle for
Yeah,
route transport.
oh, that's great. Russ?
I'm Russ Wigglesworth from Petaluma. I have a 2015 Kia Soul. And I'm waiting for my Aptera to come out.
Yeah. And last but not least, Ellen?
You have more than Ellen.
Oh, I have more than Ellen.
Yeah, to the right.
Oops, we'll go with Ellen.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellen. I'm in Santa Rosa. I drive a 2017 Chevy Bolt that I bought in 2019 used. And my family and I are planning a trip in the Bolt up to Oregon this summer for a rafting trip. So excited about that coming up.
And I see I missed Marilyn.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Marilyn Madrone. I live in Sebastopol in the center of town, and I have not needed to go long distances. So my 1985 Toyota pickup truck is getting replaced. And I am the happy new owner of a 2015 Nissan Leaf. And I found that vehicle by coming to your meeting a few months ago and ran into someone, luckily, Steve Pierce, whose family member happened to have a 2015 Nissan Leaf available. And it was a beautiful happenstance, just lovely things that happened to me so far. And I expect to get a rebate, nice rebate. And I expect to take my old Toyota pickup truck off the road and stop polluting very soon. However, there is a technological gap between my knowledge of the 1985 Toyota simplicity to today. All of a sudden, 2015 Nissan Leaf, and I've had some difficulties, I want to tell you. I do not know what all those buttons are on the door and in the dash, and all the lights that light up, and therefore I locked myself in the Leaf the other night in my carport. Could not get out, had the prospect of spending the night in the Leaf. Luckily, I had a phone and could call, and so someone in my nearby told me what button to push, and I was able to release myself. Since then, I have also made other boo-boos, and it makes me really in awe of this new car that I have. I need to learn more about it before I use it. So neighbors are being very kind and coming over and taking me on little rides and showing me how to charge it. It charges just off the meter. It's wonderful, 110 volts. And it took, let's see, went up to 80 miles range. And it went to 100% overnight. Not a problem. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So didn't it come with a manual?
Oh, it came with an enormous manual. Yes.
Read the quick guide. It tells you about those buttons.
The
We'll
quick
stop by on
guide
our way home.
Marilyn, I'd be happy to meet with you and look at it with you. I drive an older Leaf.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'll
Most
be
of
in
it
touch.
done through this too. Don, you're still there too. Someplace I saw you on the screen.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Don Foreman from Petaluma, driving a Chevy Bolt, the 2022 EUV, and looking forward to hearing about the EV6. Those are a pretty cool car. That's enough out of me.
Right. Did everyone have a chance to introduce themselves?
Yeah, I checked the screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks so much. We can go back to sharing slides.
Is So the slides are being done by Cecilia?
Yeah.
Hmm.
In the future, maybe I should have done it, but I was.
She could
it's
probably-
oriented as
It's gotta
well.
be the setting on here, because it looks different on my screen. My screen shows the full slide without the overlap.
It might be a little different here, yeah.
When we start through this, and somebody can play with that at the same time.
So, a little intro to the NBEAA. It's really great to have some new people, and we're sorry, we've got really smooth at doing our presentations. During COVID, we were all on Zoom and we were just like jamming through this stuff, but moving around to new locations is exciting for all of us, and things are a little rougher. But the NBEAA chapter has been meeting for several years now, and gone through many iterations that even I can't recall. We have been a very large chapter of the Electric Vehicle Association, the national organization that provides us with a bit of support. The reason we are a chapter of the Electric Vehicle Association is primarily because they give us liability insurance so that we can do really big events and even host drives and things like that, and have coverage for those types of things. And so that's a really nice thing. And as such, we've operated as a chapter of the EVA and asked people to join for $35 a year and support the EVA that way. And then a little bit of that money trickles down to us and get a Zoom account. So just a little, reminder. And then also we have all this public presence online. We have a website, NBEAA.org. We do a club email and just send out 3 emails a month to make sure that you are informed about where we're going to be meeting next. We meet on the second Saturday of every month. And then we're just starting to also create a Facebook group and get some energy going on Facebook, and we might do Instagram as well. Ellen's been working with us on that. So that's a little bit about our chapter. We post each of the meetings on YouTube and then put the link right on our site, nbeea.org. So you can just go to nbeea.org and find everything you want. Also, we create a PDF of the meeting each time, and the PDF has active links, meaning every single news article, everything that's in green that you see, you can actually click on and go out and read those articles, get the resources that we're talking about, etc. So that's why that PDF exists, and you can grab that on our site too. We created quite a few Google groups for different purposes. It's keeping us well organized. And if you belong to NBEAA Club, you'll learn of the meetings, but you can also join NBEAA Discuss if you want to discuss something kind of within a month or ask a question about your car. It's a great way to just send an email and get a few responses. And then if you want to be part of our presentation group, you can join NBEAA team and source news, etc. And anyone is welcome at any time to kind of start engaging around that.
And we're hoping when we finally move to a different domain or different domain server, we'll make the email simpler. The simply will be team@nba.org and club@nba.org. So
Yeah.
that's a technical thing we'll take care of. Going forward.
If you've ever joined a Google group before, you kind of subscribe. Sometimes you need it to be approved, and you can unsubscribe when you're kind of done with it. Even if you aren't part of NBEAA team, you can send an email to NBEAA team and ask us to put something into the presentation each month. So feel free to do that as well. We ask that you give us a lot of detail. More detail the better. So if you want to have us cover a piece of news, etc. It's good. So on to EV events and offers. I think I put something in here. Yeah. So Cecilia, do you want to talk about the idea of the EVA hat raffle? We have 2 hats. I don't know. Jerry was wearing one earlier, and we've got these hats.
Yes. So
Yeah, I got mine for free by flying down to John Wayne Airport and picking up Caleb, so we could go down to an event the EVA was at. And they said, "You want a hat or you want a shirt?" Got too many shirts.
Yeah, so we recently got a couple of hats or caps from the EVA, and Sonia asked me, like, what should we do with these hats, and I was like, let's do like a raffle situation. So in order for one of you to have a chance at getting one of these hats, we have two of them. We want you to write an article for the NBEAA.org website that talks about electrification. We'll do that would be the entry. We'll do a little raffle. You should do like a random selection among those. You can send your article to nbeaa-web@googlegroups.com. That's the group that handles putting things on the website. We'll want to enter by June 3rd, and then at the next meeting, we'll announce the two winners.
Awesome. Also, I want to take an opportunity for the guy who has too many shirts. We were given shirts for each of the officers, and so I think Jerry's done a lot of work, and
I've got too many shirts.
You can refuse it if you want, and we'll get it to another big guy.
Okay, I'll
Take it.
I use it for
You
events. I
deserve
save
it.
them for events.
There you are. There you are. You'd be all decked out, and I still have Cecilia's shirt, and then all the officers currently have a shirt. We'll get any new officers a shirt as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, presumably they're for sale on the website.
You can buy your own. But wouldn't you rather be an officer?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well said, Sonia, well said.
Dominic's gonna need backup.
We're looking for a VP for next year.
That's
in
right.
March. Jerry, I think you might be up again.
Culminates in a thing to do. So we wanted to do a quick Earth Day report back, and I just mentioned really quickly that we had Bernie, Brad, Dominic, Ellen, John, Cecilia, and me at Earth Day, and we also had a special guest drive his Arcimoto in. Jim McGreen just showed up out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh, I can get someone to move a porta potty, and then I can get onto the square." So
Yeah, great.
I have to ask him, is he enjoying that? I
he
haven't
loves
seen him in a
it.
while.
He loves it. People
Yeah.
kept saying, "What if it rains?" And he goes, "I don't drive this in the rain."
Well, you can get them with sides now. In
Yeah.
California.
They have like side curtains as well.
Yeah.
But it looks like fun.
Has sides.
Like, Caleb and I.
Irony, I'm like irony right there.
Caleb and I drove those when we were down in San Diego, so.
And did you like it when you drove it?
We did, but there are things about it that I don't like, and I own a lot of their stock now too. So I'm hoping they do better.
Which one of these vehicles are you talking about? It's two wheels in the front and one in the back, and it's one person in the front and one person in the back. So it's kind of like an enclosed motorcycle.
And bicycle handlebars.
Bicycle handlebars, they're heated bicycle handlebars and a heated seat. That's California as well.
Yeah, in the
yeah.
breakstones.
Apparently,
Use the brake ones
in
too.
Oregon, you don't need.
How much are they? Anybody know?
$17,000 to $18,000 right now.
Yeah, so they're expensive. I just wanted to mention that John and Ellen's truck was basically like the most exciting thing there. And things have kind of shifted and changed. It used to be that a Tesla was a really exciting thing, and we had Bernie's red Tesla, and you can see that back there, but people have seen a million Teslas and they've never seen anything like Val. So, they've really swarmed around it, and I noticed, some of the young guys were coming by toward the end of the day, and they were like, "What did you do to this truck?" And also, we had a lot of people coming in saying, "I already have an EV. I didn't know you guys existed. I have a question about like my second EV purchase," or they may or may not have been that interested in joining our club, but they were kind of interested in seeing us and knowing we existed, etc. So that has changed as well. So I felt like it was a very different type of meeting. I know a couple of us talked to Natalie Rogers, also the mayor of the city of Santa Rosa. Ellen, do you want to say a few things about it?
Yeah, sure. It was neat I didn't realize it was Mayor Natalie Rogers until after I had spoken with her, but she and her husband are really interested in getting an electric car. So that was fun to to see her interest. And I especially loved talking to the little kids, because I found that among people who had no idea that, you know, electric car conversions were possible, I found that both adults and kids at that level got, you know, understood it equally as quickly, the concept. So I would tell kids like, oh yeah, they'd be like, what is that? And I said, you know, this used to be a gas car, and then we took out all the parts and put in electric parts, and now it runs on electricity. And they'd be like, oh, I get it. That's cool. You know, and I found that it was almost as quick that they got it as, you know, adults that were new to the subject area. So that was especially kind of fun for me. But it was a really great day. A bigger turnout than I didn't really know what to expect, but it was a pretty big turnout, and that was really fun to see.
Because the one we did it in 2019, there was a ton of, I mean, I went home hoarse because.
You did a lot of talking in 2019.
Well, I do a lot of talking all the time.
Well,
Something happened after that.
people were swarming around your Nissan Leaf last time,
Yeah.
thinking this is the budget car I want to buy, maybe.
Yeah,
But this time it was really the truck that they were swarming around more.
There was a lot of attention on the truck.
Yeah, and a lot of specific questions,
Yeah,
it seemed like,
yeah.
but maybe bigger in 2022.
I thought it was interesting. There were a number of low end questions like, you know, can it go on the freeway kind of questions. And then, but there was a large number of more on the gearhead side of questions where people were asking details about how the shifting works, you know, because it's using the original transmission. And I thought that was really interesting. There was some really more educated, kind of interested application questions about how to do it. That seemed a little different to me.
Yeah, it was very interesting that way. And then also just, I don't know, hopefully we did some good club interaction. I can think of a couple of guys who were waiting to get an F-150 Lightning. And I said, will you show it to our club?
yeah.
You know, and we took the EVA cards and we wrote NBEAA.org on the back of them and said, go to this site, go to this site. That was kind of like the big thing that we did a lot of. So it was good club outreach.
There's been some good follow-up on the email as well, since people have come back and asked specific questions and follow-ups.
That's, you know, you bring that up, that's not a bad idea for us to spend a few bucks and have some cards made up. Just simple, even in business card size, you know,
Yeah.
use as handouts. And,
Yeah.
Follow-up.
Yeah, it could be the thing to have. I think that the Alicia Quilisi, who set it up with the city of Santa Rosa, really wants things to be really low key, but everyone took all the lanyards, everyone took all the shopping bags that we were given from the VA. There were little pins. The people were just running around grabbing things. There's a little bit of that.
That last slide, you're talking about bi-directional mandate, what is that?
Yeah, you go. We done with this one?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
next
gonna,
slide.
let's move forward.
What's that mean?
So
two-way
this is a new,
charging.
yeah, this is a new update. Who wants to speak to this? Do you want me to?
Yeah, good.
Go ahead. Steve,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, the Senate Bill 233 is just moving through committee right now, as I understand. And basically there was a bi-directional mandate on charging equipment, so that charging equipment could have a car send energy into a household. And so the bi-directional capability of EVs for model year 2027 is still in this bill that is moving through committee. And as Woody walked us through a few months ago, there are several different bills. This is in the context of many bills in the state that are moving through committee at different stages. And some might, you know, pop out onto the floor and get approved through committee and get out to the floor for a vote, et cetera. Does anyone have a more recent update on 233? I think it's still,
Yeah, I think
it's not held.
just from the bill was to put bi-directional on the charging systems as well as in the cars. They removed the requirement on the charging systems, they kept it on the cars.
Yeah, and
right?
Oh, okay.
So that's the big to do, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
the
makes,
big to
then,
do.
from a technical point of view, that
That's-
makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the part that went away, because that probably solved about $25,000 worth of grid tie connect problems.
Yeah. Oh.
That eliminated that requirement.
Yeah, so from the, and I talked to the founder of the company that we worked for, that Caleb and I worked for, that did electric vehicles. And Jim said, yeah, adding the V to G to our charging system, he says, it's fairly trivial for us to do that. It's a few components. It's not a lot of additional expense to do it. The protocol's there. It's software at that point for us. On the EVSE side, it's a lot more complicated for you to deal with that, because now you're taking a DC going back, and you're now saying that the charge stations themselves would be DC charge stations, and most of them are not. They're AC charge stations. So from a logical point of view, it does make a lot of sense.
Right.
One of the things I got out of our last meeting with the number of pushes at the state level for regulations and how to do EVs and pushing things forward, I just contrasted to testifying in 1998, when all we wanted to do was keep the 2% mandate that zero emission vehicles would have to be supplied, at least 2% of the vehicles for companies selling so many.
Oh,
vehicles.
right.
So that's where we were.
That's where we were in 1998.
Yeah, that's right.
And it all got reversed and disappeared.
That's right.
And that's what stalled us for another
Yeah.
10, 15 years.
Yeah. I was hired by US Electric Car in 1995. And I was fired before I got there. So the money evaporated. So I had to go back to my boss and beg for my job back in 1995.
Wow.
So on the bi-directional, Enphase has bought Clipper,
Yep.
and Clipper was working on bi-directional.
Stop, we got a slide.
Okay.
Okay, we'll hit it.
I think we have a
Okay.
slide.
Yeah,
So
it should be
252 is another kind of bill that had been in committee but got suspended as of this last week. And this is the fossil fuel divestment bill. So there are two really large pension funds, CalSTRS and CalPERS, and this legislation says that the state of California that manages and directs those pension funds should have legislation that states that they should not be invested in fossil fuels. They already are required not to invest in coal, so they know how to do this and they can do this. So there's been a lot of push, but instead it was placed in suspension, and unless it's released
Next week.
unless it's released, it'll die on May 18th. So I've gotten a couple of emails saying, can you please speak to this? Particularly here, can people write, emails and letters and things like that? And so
Is it suspended by the chair of the Senate Appropriation Committee, or are the emails directing you to individual committee members?
I think the emails are directing us to individual committee members. You can write your own, state assembly person or state assembly, and write Michael Blyer.
Oh, wait, is he on the Appropriations Committee? I don't.
He's not.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, the microphone's over there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we can follow up with this. I could put something in NBEAA discuss if everyone likes to get more information on this.
Good
if
idea.
That's a good way to go. Do you want to speak to this?
Okay. I put the slide together. So Enphase, as David started to say, has bought Clipper Creek, which is one of the charge station companies. The reason Enphase bought the company was Enphase is working towards whole home energy. And so they already have their solar panels, the IQ8 microinverters, they have their battery system now. And so they also see now V2G as being part of vehicle to grid, vehicle to home, as being part of the solution. Their station supports either CCS or CHAdeMO. So it'll work with Leafs, it'll work with EV6s and Ioniq 5s and the Mustang, and I forgot what else it will work with. They expect production in next year. They have a tremendous video, and I have a link for the video down here to watch, showing how this all would work to give people fundamental education on it. And the system will actually integrate with your vehicle as well and show you state of charge on your vehicle. So they really are talking about home energy, and your vehicle is now part of the home energy system. And they will use your vehicle to do arbitration on your energy. So if you have high charge times, you can use your vehicle's battery instead of buying the expensive battery I have on the side of my house to do the arbitration. It supports between 200 and 1,000 volt DC. So it'll support almost all of our, actually will support all of our vehicles that are on the road today that have vehicle to grid. And David corrected me, and I was wrong. The IQ8 inverter actually was key to this as well. It turned out that Clever Creek was using those inverters inside of their system because they were collaborating. The IQ8, if you don't know it, is a microinverter, and that microinverter is smart enough to recognize what the demand is, and so it only provides as much supply as the demand, which is a game changer for most solar systems, because your solar system actually will function even if you don't have batteries when the grid goes down. And this is the only system that I know of that actually will do that. There was no mention.
Oh, interesting.
There was no mention of the power rating.
So the microinverters modulate the amount of power to make sure that it doesn't.
You don't raise the voltage. No, it can't increase the amount of power, right? So if the sun's not there, you can't add power. But the major problem was, if it's a nice sunny day out and the grid goes out and you don't have batteries, there was no way for most of the inverters to say, hey, I can't send this much power down. If you send too much power down, you raise the voltage, start blowing things in the house.
Do you mean microinverters or inverters? I thought solar inverters could do that when the grid goes down, that it's still.
I don't know of a single one that does it. Do you?
I mean, most of the string inverters,
Yeah.
they want to see a grid voltage, and when that's gone, they shut, they're designed to shut down.
They
They put that, they don't allow feeding the house.
Yeah.
The sun bulls came out with what they.
Well, that one I don't know about. That, you know, probably my knowledge is old on it. The one thing that was disappointing was I couldn't find an article that would talk about the power rating on this. The power rating on almost all of the EVSEs that are vehicle to grid is around 7.7 kilowatts. Now, the reason for that is that typically if we're running a 50 amp circuit into our garage and we get 80% of the power out of the 50 amp circuit, when we're doing AC, we only get 7.7 kilowatts worth of charging. And for those of you that don't follow this, that gives you about 28 to 30 miles worth of range per hour when you're charging up at home. Okay.
The big thing that came forward for me around this is kind of simple. It's like, if you just look at V2G on its own, you're only good for a day and then you're done. You have to have a whole ecosystem that includes solar panels.
Yeah.
If you want like a 5-day power outage solution or something like that, right?
And you know, if you look at it from this point of view, when I first put solar panels in, they were expensive. But today, solar panels are a commodity. The installation is still expensive because people are having a hard time figuring out how to install. So, but the panels themselves, when you talk to most of the solar installers, you say, which panel should I get? The answer is,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. Whichever's the cheapest one, and it's gonna work best on your roof. If you have a limited space, we might get a more expensive one, but if you don't have limited space, we're gonna put whatever we can. But the batteries, they'll talk to you about, and the battery system, they'll talk to you about, because the software is different on all those batteries, the chemistry is different on them, the light on them is different as well, and also the power rating on the batteries turns out to be very different, and that you do care about in your home.
And do you believe that you should be driving your battery around versus having a power wall or a sonic battery that stays in place?
Drive it around.
Oh,
yeah.
It's way too expensive.
I don't know.
So
Drive it around.
I had
Yeah.
a conversation with the DC Bell people, which is a
Yeah.
D2G plus solar thing. And I sort of made the observation, like, do you think you need a stationary battery anyway, a small one?
What they said,
They said, yeah, we're working on that.
Okay.
So
kind
that's
like
kind of an
a little-
obvious thing.
A little piggyback.
Like, well, what do I do if the car's not plugged in? Well, you have at least a little buffer, but. And then running your house on the full car batteries that are out here, 600 no, 60 to 75 kilowatt hours.
Right.
You know, you're probably gonna, yeah, if you burn your usual usage, you might go through in a day, but you can rent that out. I mean, if you're turning on everything, all electric
The
house.
car battery is far bigger than any Powerwall. that
Yeah,
they
so
have.
you could stretch it for certain days if you're economical.
No, I figured it would be my car, the 2018 Leaf. That's about 3 days worth of power for us on our regular burn.
Right.
Okay, my battery on the side of the house is 1 day worth of power. So if the sun doesn't come up the next day, and the last time we had a power outage was a major storm, and my solar panels gathered 300 watt hours the next day. Okay,
Oh, wait,
as opposed to
300
kilowatt hours.
Yeah.
So Jerry,
Yeah.
I'm curious if Enphase is giving any indication that they will also be interested in going into aftermarket EV batteries. And I've talked with Thunderstruck about this as a possibility, but I always thought, hey, that kind of seems up their alley.
No,
They're already making home batteries.
yeah, I mean,
They're already,
the reason they're not gonna, friends have approached me, and in fact, at one point, I was talking to Sonia and Caleb, and we were talking about what would we do with these batteries if we were swapping them into vehicles. Yeah, the 2013 Leaf, the 2014 Leaf, the 2015s, but the chemistries are changing and the construction of the batteries is changing, the life of the batteries is much longer. Most of the vehicle manufacturers have decided that, yeah, lithium ion is really important and that energy density was really important. But if we build the batteries a little bit differently, we can use lithium iron phosphate batteries instead. And yeah, the energy density is not as good as when you finish with a full package, it's only a 5% hit. And most of them looking at the cost of the batteries, the fact that the battery will last well beyond the life of the vehicle. Okay, that they're not going to, we won't have the batteries recycled, is what it boils down to. The lithium iron phosphate batteries, typical use for even driving a car, have about a 20-year life. So that's a long ways to look out and say, I want to start building something based on the batteries coming out of vehicles. We're going to have to wait a long time.
sure, I was thinking more for people like Bo, who has, I thought you said a 2015 Nissan Leaf with like a 40-mile range.
And there's a company which is actually taking those batteries and is making not power walls for homes, but is actually making container-sized battery arrays for power plants and for solar areas and building that. In fact, Caleb and I both wrote to one of our friends saying, you already have a piece of equipment that does all the DC to DC conversion. You want to start selling that so that you can take anybody's batteries and they don't have to be at the same voltage and then coordinate all of them. He wasn't interested. But
Yeah, Ellen did a little slide about, I think, that last time. But I was thinking actually the opposite, where like once the battery that Bo has is, you know, she doesn't want it anymore, but she still wants to keep the car. Is there an aftermarket option in addition to the option from Nissan that might come from Enphase or somebody else? And I just don't know if they're looking at that or anyone else is.
people have started businesses like that, and like I said, a friend of mine contacted me. He wanted to start the business, even had developers in India ready to write the software and everything. When we looked at it, we won't have enough supply of used batteries. Because, hey, yeah, look at today, in the Bay Area, probably this year, our EV sales of new car sales probably be near 40% of the vehicles. But you go back to 2013, 2014, and you look at the percentages of batteries. We don't have a lot of batteries. It's not.
Yeah,
It's not a big.
I actually got a slide on that with rental materials.
Yeah.
So we should probably move on. We're on slide 3, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
So I put this slide together because I was an article I read in Press Democrat in the end of April, and if anybody remembers, Jerry Brown created a mandate that by 2025 you would have 1.5 million vehicles on the road in California. Well, and this was the market in when he said that, it was the Leaf and the Volt, or you could do what John and Ellen did, right? That's what the market was as recently as a bigger dozen years ago, right? And so, now we've crossed that threshold 2 years early. So hats off to all of us. That's us as the Electric Auto Associations and advocating for that and supporting all of that initiatives for that rollout. So expecting this year to be 21% of vehicles sold in March, in the first quarter.
Throughout California.
Throughout in California, 21% of new passenger vehicles.
Yes, that's
big, huge, big numbers.
Jerry brought in 2011 or 2021.
2011. Typo there. I always do it now.
He's on his ranch doing stuff.
So
Yeah.
Dylan, that last line of the previous slide said between January 1st and March 31st, that first quarter, there was about 125,000 EVs sold in
That's
California.
right.
Okay,
That's
so
right.
Yeah.
so 5 times that is the total amount of new vehicles sold.
Yeah, that's right. In California. Yeah.
They're all jockeying
Yeah,
for
it's
the
a $2 million.
dollars
It's
fast.
a $2 million deal in the market, right? It's one of the biggest markets in the US, right? California. Right. California, the US market's what, 15 million vehicles plus or minus. Right?
California is 11% of the US market
Yeah, okay.
for vehicles.
There you
Oh.
go. So, hallelujah. So, and I put this bottom picture on here. So this is about a week after we owned the EV6, and how far have we come when we were all trying to figure out what J772 was.
Yeah.
And now on the third floor of the Santa Rosa Plaza, there's 6 350 kWs up there. 6 of them, and people roll in, and I sat there for 15 minutes, and this parking lot when I was there topping off, that parking lot went from full to empty twice in 15 minutes. So people are coming in, they're
Wow.
jamming into power for 10 minutes at a time, and they're busting out gas station style. It was impressive.
Yeah.
Because you'll sit there and you go, there's nobody here, and 5 minutes later, every station's filled, and there's nobody here, and 5 minutes later, the station's filled. It's really
You're pointing out something which has been difficult every time I talk to different groups, even those that are advocating, is that the knowledge that everybody's working with is 5-year-old,
It's 5
6-year-old
That's
knowledge.
exactly right. Everybody's thinking level 2.
Yeah.
No, it's level 3 for road tripping.
For road tripping, yeah.
For road tripping. Yeah.
This is the next one.
Right, even the car salesmen say that, most of the people who are buying say, we gotta keep our gas car so we can go to Tahoe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Ellen, did you do this one?
Yeah, I put together this slide. And so this is something kind of near and dear to my heart as a Bolt owner and driver. And I'm sure many of you know about this, but so General Motors released an announcement about a month ago, I think it was, that they will be discontinuing both the Bolt EV and the EUV by the end of this year. And this
Ooh,
is
hiss.
really, what was that?
Ooh, hiss.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and it's just really a shock. It's really a shock to many people because it's such a popular and beloved car by really the mainstream EV market. And so I just really wanted to do some digging to see what the real reasoning was behind this. And I even called the local Chevy dealership to get a little inside scoop too. But not surprisingly, probably the first and main reason is related to profits. And as it stands now, the bigger vehicles such as SUVs and trucks are both more popular with consumers and, especially in the US, more lucrative for the car companies. So this is why we're seeing GM's new lineup of EVs, such as the Hummer, the Lyriq, Silverado, Blazer, Equinox. These are all in the larger vehicle category. And naturally, these larger cars are more expensive. So it seems like the first kind of main reason is that the Bolt's size and cost are part of what led to it being discontinued. But the second reason is related to GM's new Ultium battery technology, which I imagine you are familiar with. But their goal is really to have this new battery platform to be in their full lineup of EVs. And because of this, they're actually retooling most of their factories to accommodate for this, which meant they had to make a decision of whether to update the Bolt with its older battery technology and chemistry to the new system, or whether they should discontinue it. And unfortunately, they decided to not bring it along. But then there were kind of two other less prominent reasons that I thought might be contributing factors. One of which was the battery fires in 2021 that may have really tainted its kind of overall reputation. And then in addition to this, I also learned that the Bolt was never really intended as a high volume model. So I think these two extra factors may have also contributed. But then the real confusing thing about this is that the Bolt models are at their peak production right now and sales. And it was really the Bolt that set things into motion for GM in the EV market. And the Bolt makes up really the majority of their EV sales. So anyway, it's just kind of a confusing picture to understand. But yeah, but luckily it does look like their Equinox EV, which is coming out this fall, will be a somewhat comparable replacement, coming in at about 30K with a 300-mile range. And it will have the Ultium battery system, which I looked into and does have a lot of kind of cool features to it. The Ultium uses these long pouch cells that are able to fit kind of any size or shape vehicle quite easily. They're very flexible in that way. And they also have the electronics of the batteries embedded into the modules. So it has both more energy density and a greater range capacity. But all in all, I'm personally going to be very sad to see it leave the market. Though I did confirm that the local Santa Rosa dealership will continue selling the used Bolts past 2023. So there's a little bit of hope for people going forward. If they want to have a Bolt in the future, they can buy it used from the local dealership. So anyway, but sad news overall. So thank you. That's the end of my slide.
Great detail, thank you.
I think I did this one, right?
Yeah.
So CARB is now rolled on accelerating heavy truck electrification. They had rules before, but now they're moving things even tighter. So banning sales of diesel big rigs by 2036. That's not that far away. Applying this to medium duty trucks as well, over 8,500 pounds. And the one that got me was conversion of the existing fleet. Any fleet that has over 50 vehicles has to be converted to EV by 2042. That amazed me that they were able to go through with that. Those trucks comprise 7% of the vehicles in California, but they actually comprise 70% of the air pollution. So that's the reason they decided to tackle it. And that's CARB's, mandate is to work on these things. They were talking about rail as well, and any rail built before 2007 has to be converted by 2030. The reason for that is because those are more polluting rail.
It was smart.
A smart was only 5 years ago. So yeah, it's well. But I was been on smart since I'm on the MTC Policy Advisory Council. I've been trying to use transit, and on the smart train, one conductor told me, "Oh yeah, we have plans to go electric." Now I don't know how good it is.
They
forgot about the third rail need delay.
Well, depends how we do it. We had earlier presentations on engines which are electric engines.
Electric engines that you pull around.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only 1,900 zero emission trucks in California today, so that's a really fast change. And the article I read was talking about the charging network, and that's another issue to be dealt with. So there's a whole bunch of them.
But it's got to be terawatts of power in all these tanks of diesel, right? So where do those terawatts come from?
Well, that's all part of the discussion that the fleets are having and saying, really, that doesn't make any sense to us. The one was drayage trucks at the shipyards.
Yeah.
Beginning 2024.
Yeah.
All of those have to be zero emission.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing. And with a full conversion by 2035. The dates were what I found amazing.
They're frightening. I mean, so for a fun experiment, drive from LA either on Highway 40 or on Highway 5, any day of the week. And you can walk across the trucks, across the state and up Highway 5. There's that many trucks on there.
Yeah.
And so, again, I was at that, the meeting for you last week, and one of the guys said, so where does the electricity come from?
Yeah.
I mean, these are nuclear power plants.
Well, I was at an MTC commission meeting, that was an offsite, and I spoke. And the commissioners turned to me and said, where's the electricity coming from? And I've been reading all the articles, PG&E, the CCAs, and plus the rollout of our solar. I think we're gonna have the electricity. How we manage electricity is gonna be a different question. But the amount of electricity, I think we're not gonna have a problem getting.
Right, so one of the quotes was that Platinum Chevrolet was told that they have to charge their new Hummers and Bolts, all that in 2024 at night. Because there's not enough power during the day in 2024 for the General Motors rollout at Platinum Chevrolet.
Well, in the middle of the day, that makes sense because we're actually.
Middle of the night.
It does make sense because in the summertime with solar, you were about to say, we're exporting, in fact, I was gonna put a slide here, there was another one where we exported power twice last month.
Yeah.
Because we had too much power.
And we pay somebody to take it.
We pay somebody to take it, so that doesn't make sense.
Oh, actually, just to stop on that previous slide for a second. Jerry, do you know anything about, where was that? The major push to tackle drayage trucks. The first thing I think of when I read that is that there will be a lot of short distance.
No, that's the reason.
EV trucks.
Yeah.
Okay, so does
The drainage trucks normally are short distance.
Okay, so that logistics infrastructure already exists.
Yeah, it's
Meaning
really
getting
doable.
from the port
really
to
doable.
warehouses?
Yeah, CARB, I've been in a lot of the CARB hearings, and it's very interesting. They're not irrational. So many things that they rule on, before they rule on it, they determine, first of all, is it financially feasible to do? Is it practical to achieve? And then they put these things in place. Now, people complain after that, but they've actually done due diligence. So the fact that they picked the drayage, they probably looked at it and said, okay, can we do it?
Right.
To clarify, but when it says zero emission, it doesn't necessarily say it has to be all electric. So
No, it doesn't.
the hydrogen
Absolutely does not.
option has it in there, right?
That's right.
Right, the whole hydrogen option, where has it gone? Because, NBEAA was on the hydrogen route and then they haven't disappeared yet, but
No, there's still work being done. But I don't know if
they
you
were
guys
doing,
have met this
they
before.
want the battery though.
Yeah, but I don't know if I have a slide on hydrogen here too, because there's been more,
Yeah.
I keep telling my friends, no, don't get a hydrogen car. It doesn't
But
make any
there's
sense.
$30 billion.
There's a lot more development going on in hydrogen to get costs down.
Right, well, for heavy vehicles, I mean, maybe for trucks, but railroad and transocean shipping, hydrogen seems to be the solution.
Yeah. Let's go on to the next slide.
So I put this one together. It was really just about this was an interesting slide because it tied it back to what you were saying, Jerry. There was not enough batteries, and it took them years to get enough batteries from Audi and Ford and Volvo to be able to prove out that they could recover 95% of the materials. So when the batteries are at their vehicle end of life, which I think is less than 70% or 65%, whatever that number is, these guys claim that they can recover more than 95% of what was the comment?
No, David, he decided we don't have to worry about any of this stuff, because we'll all be gone by 2030.
That's okay.
Voice of reality.
Yeah, so now they're saying that they can do this profitably and recover up to 95%.
Yeah.
And that should help, solve some of these mining problems as well.
But you should point out one thing about railroad materials. Their primary source of material isn't from vehicles. Their primary source of materials is smaller batteries. They're got a cell phone, laptops, everything else.
Okay.
But, and then also, if we just kind of guess that like 5% of sales in 2018 might have been EVs, like I think 2018, 2019 would have been kind of that first push from like 1% to 5% in California anyway.
Right.
Would we have much more aging batteries like in 20 years after 2018? I mean, we're still a ways out before we have like a bulk of batteries to
Yeah, right,
tearing
right,
apart,
right. Especially what you were saying, Joe, if if the batteries are made to match the life of the cars now.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not true, the early Leafs with the air cool technology, right?
Yeah,
Right, those are gonna produce batteries, but everybody else, they're.
yeah, and there's not that many.
Just shed batteries.
Yeah.
Except for the crashes, right? That was the other topic we covered last night, was car crashes.
There's a similar story playing out with solar panels, that, there was no mandated recycling of solar panels. Now there's thousands of use panels.
Yeah.
Still have some life that are they're trying to give them away. And I think there's a new recycling facility, but there's a question here it's great that it's technically possible. There's also a question of policy. Should this be assisted, supported, so that when there's enough volume, that we don't just leave it to the marketplace, because it's such an important issue that if you look at the solar story, they should have had a policy in place from day one, but anyway.
Right.
So it's good that it's there. That's my point.
Somebody submitted this one and I put a slide together on it. What are gas stations gonna look like? What are fueling stations gonna look like? Is there a new model? And it was mostly in the charts, but there's 30,000 DC fast chargers. And one of the discussions I have with a lot of people is, how are you gonna replace all the gas stations? And the answer is, we don't need to replace all the gas stations, because most of the refueling your vehicle is done at home. You're refueling on the road with the stations. Wood Mackenzie came back and they believe that the number of stations we need is 60x over the next 30 years. That's a doable number.
Stations or chargers?
They said stations. And, unfortunately, we use this word station, and it could be the thing or it could be the place. And I wish we had two different words, like we do fuel, gas pump and station or two.
EDC maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And they believe that today's gas stations, which don't really make that much money on gas, they make it on the shit that they sell.
The junk food.
The junk food, and they think there's there's been a lot of discussion in the industry. How do we do this? Do we change the commodities that we're selling? So it was an interesting article to read through. And I'm trying to remember, oh, there it is. The little chart down on the bottom is showing which companies have stations, and the density of them is you see that Tesla has most of them. And on the little chart with a little car up there is showing the ramp and the number of stations being installed.
I've seen, I don't know if people have seen this, but I've seen some fast food places, like fast food stores, not fast food restaurants, but fast food stores.
Like 7-Eleven.
Well,
Like 7-Eleven, but even smaller brands with EV stations, and they all have different, like there's just a lot of new brands out there to solve for those problems. Like they don't want to throw a charge point there. They want to make more money than that, and so they're like kind of using these aftermarket brands of EVs.
And nobody's reading my slides when I send them in.
Right.
I have asked you.
That's pretty good.
The ad, right.
The other one is at the same time, Walmart announced its own build out independent of Electrify America, right? So Walmart is planning to expand as well, taking advantage of that network.
And I'm finding
What they've already done, like.
Separate from Electrify America.
Easy trip.
So it'll be a Walmart charging station, not Electrify. I mean, it'll be confusing for a while.
Okay.
It'll be Electrify America at Walmart, but there'll be a Walmart charging network.
So anyway, Circle K, 7-Eleven both said, they're going to be focusing on this.
Yeah, it's a great use case.
It's a great use case.
Yeah.
And the one other I wanted to mention was, I'm finding Shell stations. I'm trying to put in 6-7 charge facilities at each one of those stations.
That's
So
right.
Which one? Shell.
Shell.
Shell's been pretty good.
Yeah, they bought Green Lots,
Right.
right? So now they're gonna try to expand, Shell's trying to
Green
expand.
Lots by Flint, or that was green charging.
All right, next slide.
Well,
So
but Jerry, there's a question of not just the amount of power, but also the grid.
Yeah.
And that always confuses me that, the generation is becoming more and more distributed.
Yeah.
So, why you don't need the long distance transmission.
Well, we'll see how that all comes out. I picked this up, somebody sent me, I'm trying to remember who it was, Senator Fee. One of my friends in San Francisco works on energy issues. PG&E has an annual progress report that they have to send out. And I was kind of blown away by some of the things
Exactly.
that are showing up. In PG&E's territory, they have 512,000 registered electric vehicles. They are talking about the ramp that they expect to see. And then it was the programs that they have. And if you go through the slides here, you're going to see the different programs that they have. Go on to the next slide. And each one of these graphs is worth looking at. They have a vehicle program as well. So PG&E has gotten on the boat. Now, I don't know if they're regulated to get on the boat, but they have.
That's usually what does it.
Yeah, and they have a schools program. And on the last slide here, they have on PG&E, the creating the infrastructure for vehicle to grid. And this is part of a DOE program that got stalled. Was it in our group or in one of the groups on me? And we had the PG&E rep who was the director for the vehicle to grid program that PG&E is working on, and she's since left. I'm trying to get recoordinated now. But they have 3 different programs. One is residential, one is commercial, and then another one is microgrids, where they're using the vehicles in order to create a neighborhood grid. So in looking at the different things that are available. Anyway, I don't want to go into details on it. The slide's too small right here to look at the numbers and stuff, but I looked at just these. I picked up these 4 charts out of a 60-page presentation. Presentation covers other stuff as well. And I had to look up certain things like the abbreviation that's used for neighborhoods that are distressed. And they have more money for those neighborhoods than other ones. But they have a fast charge program as well.
Do you get the impression that like a microgrid is something that can be retrofitted into a small neighborhood of the green neighbors, or would it have to be new construction?
Well, Steve and I and Torres argued with us, and we've been trying to find out how to make it happen.
Ways.
Yeah.
I mean, Oakmont's such a farthest along.
And Andrea's working on that, and she's from PG&E. And the problems that she's been running into, Rick Schumer is the director that is putting that program together. For PG&E? She's a 16-year PG&E employee, right? And she's the one who always says to me, Jerry, it's really 2 companies. There's the old PG&E and there's the new PG&E. And every time we get a program about to hear the old PG&E gets in our way, but eventually it's going to break through. That is the one where I tried to get her interested in a couple of projects in Sebastopol. It turns out that the regulations don't allow a lot of the stuff, and she is fighting with it's probably CPUC for those regulations to be modified. And the same things ran into the EcoBlock project, and Oakland is trying to do this. Can you retrofit a neighborhood to do this? The answer is, I sure hope so. It's on Steve and the Sebastopol Climate Action Committee's list of projects to work on, is to figure out how to do it. We spent time talking to Jeff Cypress a number of times, and I wrote to Jeff recently and said, hey, they're able to do this over in Sacramento, and it's being done this way. Aren't you legally allowed to do this as something power? And he wrote back and said, we are. I'm not interested yet. And he made his list of things that he wanted to see first. His major thing was, I want to see a way for us to store the energy without using expensive lithium batteries. And at that point, we'll start talking about it.
So,
How about cheap lithium batteries?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, when you get into this conversation, like, well, initially, what's the critical loads? Is it your whole town? My whole town's critical. No, it's not. And so, but the other part of this is where you take your vehicle to grid, and there's other communities looking at this where can we dispatch energy from your car to the grid during those peak, stress times and compensate you $2 a kilowatt hour. And that isn't necessarily a microgrid, it's sort of helping the grid evolve in a bigger way, but.
The major issue turns out to be this one. You can simplify it. behind the meter and in front of the meter. Okay, so we need in front of the meter stuff.
All right, is this one Ellen's?
Yes, this is my slide here. So this is just a really neat thing happening right now across the US. It's called the Route Zero Relay, and it's essentially a cross-country electric car relay between California and Washington, DC. It started on April 27th at the Santa Monica Pier, which I learned is actually the official endpoint for the old Route 66. And so what's happening is different EV drivers are each taking a leg of the journey and stopping along different destinations of the Route 66, which is pretty cool. And so the real impetus though behind this relay relates to the recent EPA proposal or the recent ruling that they proposed for more strict vehicle emission standards. And so the EPA has just recently held public hearings about this proposal, but up until July 5th, they're going to be also receiving written comments from the public. And so what they're doing in this relay is at each stop, there are EVA members and advocates not only holding press conferences and hearing from like local zero emission advocates and showcasing EVs, but the main thing they're actually doing is collecting written comments from the public to then deliver to the EPA in DC at the end of this relay. And so they have these large boxes that you can see in the photos down below, where they're actually physically collecting these written comments from local individuals, where they're speaking to how they would benefit from the lowered emissions and cleaner air that would result from this new proposed ruling. And so yeah, the goal is really to get these comments to the EPA to urge them to implement these more strict clean car standards. And so what they're doing is essentially treating the boxes like a relay baton, going from, you know, one EV driver doing the first leg to the next EV driver doing the next leg, and taking them all the way until they get to DC in June, where they'll deliver them to the EPA. So it's just a fun thing I've been following on Instagram and Facebook. Their next stop is going to be in Detroit, Michigan this next week. And then they'll get to DC in mid to late June, I think, kind of to be determined. So yeah, you're welcome to follow along if you're interested. You can find them on Facebook or Instagram, or follow the hashtag Route Zero. So just a fun thing going on right now.
Yeah, the relays have been going on for years, so I remember reading about it.
Oh, really? Oh, this one just started in April, I believe.
Yeah, people saying, you know, it'll drive up and down the West Coast, things like that.
Okay, I think, yeah, this one might be a different version of that, but yeah, that's cool.
Oh, we're out to humor. This is good.
Yeah, so this is a little bit humor. It's got some low quality art in it. So a former president, I won't name names, claims that the making of EV batteries throws off more dirt into the air than driving very beautiful cars. In actual fact, this is not true. Like literal dirt, like no. Anyway.
I think the claim was tire dust. I think the claim is tire dust because of the cars are heavier, that we shed more rubber per mile driven than a gas car. I think
There's no question that's true.
I think that's the story. I think that's the basis of the claim.
Yeah.
Is that they throw off more.
And then if you're in a thunderstruck and seen Brian go out on the driveway, you can see that he's burning rubber most of the time too, to show off.
That's right. That's right.
But higher quality tires
That's right.
shed less.
That's right.
And so you should
Yeah.
get higher
Yeah.
quality tires.
I'm not justifying with the.
Well, is there
Or
a
the
rule
worst or
on
anything,
how
but-
much equivalent size electric vehicle weighs compared to, weighs more than a equivalent size?
1,000 pounds, I think, is the average.
Actually, they are heavier.
Oh,
And there's,
Like 10%, 20%, I'm not sure what size vehicle that is.
So, but wait a minute.
opportunity.
All that gas
Yeah.
is transported to the gas stations in large trucks that also have tires that wear down, and our electric.
There you
vehicles
go,
without
okay.
tires.
There you
Are you running for president?
Just an analyst.
Go, Bo knows. 24.
The tires will become the more important, I mean,
Well,
I was talking to somebody from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District and said, you know, what do you think the biggest source of particulates is? And actually tire particulates are as significant.
Yeah.
Didn't have a presentation.
We did.
We did.
Revisit that.
We can't revisit it because if you remember, when he gave us the presentation, we couldn't report it because it was all under non-disclosure.
Right.
And that is the furthest away member that we have to our club because he signed up to join the club and he's in London.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Is the company still alive?
I don't know.
you know, couldn't talk about it.
So there's a legislative opportunity to set kind of a bar in terms of quality of tires, right? You
Yeah.
can set a bar and say you can't have tires that are lower quality, but
Yeah.
I do like Bo's idea where you look at the whole
Yeah.
cost
Yeah,
of running these gas cars, including.
Yeah. that's
Try
good.
But this is also why I'm
Ship it.
disappointed in GM's new Bolt replacement. It's a bigger car. I don't want a bigger car. I want a smaller car.
Yeah.
Actually, that was something we heard a lot at Earth Day. I don't know if John and Ellen noticed, but there were so many people I spoke to that said how interesting, how nice it is to have a small truck be electric as opposed to all of the current new options are big trucks.
You know, most of us have traveled in other places in the world, and when you see EVs in other places in the world, my cousin just bought an EV. They're driving around Rome. They're smaller cars. I mean, there's a bunch of cars that are available. They're not available in the United States.
Yeah.
So, just not to derail this, but it seems like the car manufacturer, well, it's what the people want. It's like, well, why don't we, isn't there an option of creating a voice saying, can you make a smaller truck, a mid-sized truck or a smaller truck? You know, et cetera. Quit making these behemoths because you think America, that's what America wants.
Well, it's also
That's just catch
more
22.
profitable. And so it's gonna have to come from a new company, like whether VinFast, like what Sonia went to down in Puerto Madera, or like Tesla or something like that, but you know, it's just, I don't expect it to come.
I mean,
out
not
of-
necessarily. I mean, I would love to have a little Ford Connect Transit electric.
Me too.
And the other, gotta make them for the UK or something like that.
All right, Dominic's up.
All right, so let's go to the next slide, I guess, and so we started looking at an EV6 to replace our Bolt. And we had been in the market for about a year. Our purchase decision was accelerated when my son's car, his wife's car was totaled in Texas. And so we said, well, never pass up a crisis. And so we met them in Phoenix and gave them our 2014 Volt. So now there's one more Volt in Texas. And we've been on the market for a while, and I was set on a Lucid. I think those, not Lucid, what is the Cadillac? Lyric. I wanted a Cadillac Lyric. And just bad decision after bad decision from General Motors perspective, there's no Lyrics. There's nothing. I mean, there's no hours. So we started looking around for other cars, and having driven a Bolt and understanding what Marilyn said about the complexities, the Bolt is a insanely complicated user interface that makes no sense. The old Bolts were just the somebody vomited buttons onto a screen and it was impossible to decipher what they were supposed to do. It was just words and buttons. And so we spent a lot of time looking for the right car, and it had to be car-like. So I'll go, I had to sell the car to her. So she wanted a car and I wanted an EV. And so we settled on the EV6. And so go to the next slide.
That's a good tagline.
There we go. So I want to just go over a few things here. There's the car is absolutely fantastic, but there's a couple of weirdnesses. There's a lot of really phenomenal features. So let's go to the next slide. So it's what we bought was a trim technology package. It comes with a 77 kilowatt-hour battery. It's 225 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, which is an enormous amount of both. It has a 800 volt system that delivers 697 volts. LiPo, from everything I've been able to determine, they've been kind of cagey between 22 and 23. Ours is 23 of what the actual chemistry is. I'm pretty sure it's LiPo.
But is that I for iron or because lithium iron phosphate frequently got it?
But it's lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah, lithium iron phosphate.
LFE.
They're using F for iron.
I have no idea.
LiPo.
I tried to figure it out. I still don't.
LiPo is, I think, we give her the fat.
They charge. I can charge you 100%. That's what they tell, and I'll talk about that.
Oh, okay.
But it is part of it is the new Kia Hyundai electric global mobility platform. This is the first vehicle. This and the Ioniq 5 are the new vehicles built on that new platform.
It's funny. I never asked that question about what the chemistry was.
I don't know.
Platform.
I don't know what the chemistry is, but Ellen's point on one chat during the week was, can we really charge it to 100%? And they tell you to charge it to 100% periodically. So, but this is a major investment from Hyundai Kia, and I felt pretty confident about buying I've never owned a Kia or a Hyundai, but when I realized that they were making a lot of the batteries and a lot of the technologies that's in automobiles now, I felt pretty confident buying a Korean car. So you go to the next slide. Hey, John, you have a question?
Maybe people don't know, but the high voltage packs, one of the reasons they're doing that is that it requires less current to both use the car or in charge, so you can get a higher kilowatt rating with the same wire size. And so that's just, it's cool because you use fewer precious metals in the wiring. I don't know if that's something that matters to people.
John, the other thing that was part of that, when we were promoted and you came down to talk to us, our system was 700 volts. And when I asked the CEO, why is that? He said, the higher the voltage, the higher the efficiency.
Yeah,
And there's something about what John said, you less wire size for current.
So going to the purchase goals, I was thinking about Jerry's slide presentation from a couple, I think it was last month or the month before, I forget, but I wanted to just kind of touch on that. It needed to be attractive, sporty, and practical. My wife, every time I talked to her about it, she loved, when she talks about the cars that she loves, she always goes back to our 86 Blazer, which is a small SUV. And the car she really loved was her 2003 Lexus RX 300. It was just the perfect size, fun to drive, cornered well, drove like, just a fun sports car. So it needed to kind of match that. It needed to be reliable and have a good, I looked at Consumer Reports ratings, and this was very much in the buy category from Consumer Reports. It has a limited V2X capability. That's what I'm talking about. Is there a question? I wanted it to have fast charging for rare road trips. And that had been the reason we hadn't bought an EV before, honestly. Before I retired, I did an enormous amount of business travel. I was gone probably 40 out of 52 weeks. And my wife said, "You're not leaving me home with an EV." It was not, because if I need to go see our kids wherever the far-flung places that they are, I want something I can get around in. And so we needed something that fast charged for that, and we just drove that once, and that worked well. The seating, when you get in it, you'll see the seating is this is like a Toyota Matrix in terms of packaging. The seating of the interior volume is enormous, surprisingly large. And then technology to manage blind spots, all these new cars that you can't tell where the sides are or the back or the roof is on these cars anymore. So we've got a technology package for blind spots. So let's go to the next slide. I just want to cover that. So just the nerd slide here. It came out with, there's actually the 2021s had a lower line than the wind. It was the air, which was cheaper. They dropped that in 2022 and just went with the wind in 2023. And then there's a GT line and a GT. They all have most of the same specs up until you get to the EPA range. The wind is, they have them in either rear wheel drive or all wheel drive. I opted for more range. Yeah. And I wasn't exactly sure, having owned an all wheel drive before, that if you lose one tire, you got to replace all four. That kind of freaked me out. I wasn't sure if that was true in the EVs as well. I don't think it is. Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, my Subaru.
Yeah, you lose a tire, you got to change all four, and that had bit us on the Lexus. So I went with the rear wheel drive version of it, but you'll see the ranges drop off fairly dramatically. So the GT line is much faster. It basically stays in sport mode more on the rear wheel drive. And then the GT all-wheel drive, that car is shockingly fast. If you look at the next couple of rows on the power, the GT all-wheel drive is 576 horsepower with 161 top speed and a 0 to 60 at 3.4. Honestly, this wind version is faster than I want to go, mostly. So
Yeah, right.
You essentially got the wind with the tech package. I got the wind with the tech package and all-wheel drive, or the rear-wheel drive.
The all-wheel drives, when I looked at it, came with heat pumps, but the rear wheels
They
don't.
I think it's a packaging challenge.
Is that right?
I think it's packaging.
That's good to have.
To manage the hood that has a very low hood space.
Yeah.
I think that and to get a motor in there and to get the heating to work, I think they went with that heat pump for the all-wheel drive only.
So what you don't have up there is the battery pack kilowatt hours.
Battery pack. I thought I did. It's 77. It's 77.
Yeah, on the previous slide.
Yeah, it's 77 kW. Yeah.
I think so.
All three, yeah.
That's why the EP range goes down.
On the GT, and I mean they've been putting the GT side by side with some Italian supercars. I mean it's the numbers are insane for this vehicle.
So the part I didn't understand was why the heat pump was only in the all-wheel drive, because you would think if you have two motors, then you'd have to have more shit.
Yeah, I think it's a packaging thing is what I
Is the heat pump smaller or bigger than the other?
Oh, heat pumps are larger than
resistant heater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The question about V to X, you said it was.
Yes,
limited?
it is. No, Ellen's asking whether it was equal to G.
Yeah, and I'll show you how that works. You know what I should have done for this meeting was plugged into the car. I think that would have been a cool party trick. Because we could have run this meeting on the vehicle, on the car right now.
We could have just sat in the vehicle.
We could have
It could actually have the 110 plug.
It has two of them. Yeah, it has one that plugs into the J1772 and it has one on the inside.
Amazing.
And I think between them both, it's still 1.8 kilowatt hours. So it's plenty to run. It's plenty to run a fridge. Yeah. Probably two fridges, for blackout conditions. Yeah. We could long cord the fridge and the freezer and the
Wi-Fi for Netflix.
Yeah, but you lose your coax anyway, because when the grid's down,
That's what I've learned.
It's not
Is
like
that
the
right?
old
If-
days,
if the
yeah,
power's out in Roanoke Park.
yeah, the power's out, the poles go down. Yeah, it's not like it's pots anymore, right?
Read a book.
Right, read the book,
But there
yeah.
are some neighborhood outages where I've just taken a little ego battery and I've powered my Wi-Fi and
Right.
gotten internet.
It's just kind of hit and
Yeah.
miss when
Okay.
the internet
So-
works.
My experience is the power line goes down, Comcast goes down.
You're out here in the country.
It's
Yeah,
very.
I'm further in the country than
Yeah,
the
good
south,
point.
but I don't know, yeah, it's two
So-
different things.
Okay.
Are you, so that's the extent of it, the V2L, or is there another future ability to plug into?
I don't know. I
No, there
think we
is.
ought to talk to
There is.
Enphase and get a brief on them, because what you're suggesting is that the Enphase would enable this car to do better.
This,
than
this will
what's
do
going on.
DCL. This vehicle does vehicle to grid.
Okay.
I don't know. Somebody else in an earlier meeting said, there's little nuances between them and certain stations work with certain
Yeah,
vehicles.
but
But generally, it advertises vehicle to grid. It's not the 110 outlet. It is, you plug in to your DC and it will output DC.
Interfaces with your
Mhm.
house.
It knows the protocol.
okay. All right, so let's see, we're here, we'll see it, but the spaces are really great. I fit in the car just fine. I fit in the car when I get in the car as a driver, I get behind myself, which is pretty rare for, I'm 6'2", so it's pretty rare that I can sit behind myself without fighting myself.
Is there room in the back for the dog kennel so that we can have 4 people in the car and the dog?
You have to be a small kennel.
That's a trailer.
I think that's gonna be a small one. That's a look.
That's one of the requirements. I got.
I have a kennel there to try to.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the things that I liked about it, over the Mustang, if you look at the Mustang, was it has 8-way adjustable front seats, and the Mustang does not have pan. It doesn't have a tilt on the seat. It's just a flat seat, and I did not like that on the Mustang. I need, because I've got long, need a heel length. I like to lift the front part of my seat. There's lumbar support. The back seats tilt. And then you'll see on this dashboard, it's either black, how my wife likes it, or white, that's how I like it on the dashboard color itself.
Oh, you can choose.
So you can pick.
Does it remember the driver?
It remembers the driver, and I'll get to that. That's
Perfect. My wife, that's a requirement.
We'll get to that.
Okay, great.
To user profiles.
And then it has a tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which I think that's kind of normal. The reason I went with the Wind, because the Wind does not have a sunroof. And that gives you 2 more inches above your head, because that mechanical sunroof eats headspace. So that's one of the reasons we went with the Wind.
The GT has a sunroof?
Everything above the Wind trim, yeah, GT and GT line, it's
Lower on the headline.
yeah, it's just how it is, so. Let's go to the next slide.
Did you get it in Santa Rosa?
I got it in Santa Rosa, yeah. So this is with 2 suitcases in it. These are the ones that go overhead, and then as you can see from this picture on the right, there's a pass-through on the right, so it's 60-40 split. Yeah, I'll get to that, David Heacock. 60-40 left and right and rear, and then go to the next slide. The front is I don't know, it's kind of a why bother. So my theory was that I kind of laid out my design review process. It needs to have a front. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, here's your freaking front.
It's like, here's what it's just gonna be.
Because it's not as big as a suitcase. I mean, it's not it's just ridiculous.
You can put your windshield washer down and jug it.
Yeah, I mean,
Does the hood shut mechanically? Like you have to put your hands on the hood and press down to shut it?
yeah.
Oh, my God. You can't have that
Well,
car, huh?
I find that I never use my front because I don't want to touch the front of my car. It's always dirty. and I don't wanna touch
Fit your manual in there.
Was there a comment?
I mess the paint up really badly, and since it's so dirty, I'd be messing paint up.
Now, the front is different in Europe and in Asia.
Really?
Yeah, so I pulled the bottom of the front out, and there's nothing underneath it on our all-wheel, on a rear wheel drive. There's nothing underneath it. And in Europe and in Asia, they use that space to make the frunk bigger, and the frunk is actually, 9, 10, 11 inches deep. And you can buy a European spec frunk, internationally ship it and put it in your car. But it violates the US codes, which is the same reason that the Mustang front had that split in the center. Because they were concerned that people could get in the front and they did not have that child safety release like what you want on rear front. So I think Mustang has gotten past that now. I think they have a release or something, but the original Mustangs, remember they came with that funny little egg carton in the front, so you couldn't put anything big in there. This is the old kid going in the freezer problem from the 60s.
But would they suffocate in the front?
They could suffocate, you could drive away with them. You wouldn't know.
Well, it's a viable thing, I mean, a reasonable thing. I mean, the Tesla Model S front, because you can crawl in there, the right size person.
Yeah.
And lock yourself in.
Lock yourself in. I mean, there's no.
Besides suffocate,
There's an escape hatch.
Yeah.
Who's that? Who's that?
I said besides suffocate, they could overheat in the California sun.
That's exactly right, yeah. See, Bo knows, vote for 24, I'm just saying. We got a next slide. So it has some really cool features, things I had never really thought about. It has this very unique little fin. You see that picture on the upper left hand, or the left hand side there? There's a little it's almost like a tail wing or something. And the light for the egress light actually comes from the rear of the car above the rear wheel, which I've never seen before. It's very cool. And then it had more autopilot features than I bothered to list. They would be 0.4 font, putting them all up there, but it has radars and sensors everywhere. It can steer the car. And it can have very heavy steering. I don't like the steering on it when it does it. I find it to be heavy. And it has a very, very smooth adaptive cruise control. And again, it's radar and imagery combined. And it has vehicle load, and it wouldn't be like me without trying the vehicle load test without using a skill saw. So that's how I tested it. So I know to run a skill saw, cutting a 4x4. So, but it's 1.8 kilowatt hours from a single 120 volts, and for the uninitiated, a full skill saw at full power pulls 15 amps. So it'll easily do that.
So this means also that you could help a EV driver who's run their battery out.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
you
can
can plug in
you can plug in a 110 little
Right.
boost. Yeah, to give you free, 1.8, so it'd be 2 miles an hour.
Sit down and have a
something
chat.
like that.
Right.
But it give you 2 hours an hour range, right?
Right, well, we came across a Tesla Model S that was about 3 miles shy of the next charger.
Yeah,
Stop, and
yeah, but yeah, it'll do it.
Now that tells us an answer to the question that was brought up by David, because you say you only get 2 miles per hour. I could get closer to 4.
Oh,
1.8 kilowatt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, because the efficiency of it. Yeah, that's good.
you get 4 miles per kilowatt.
Let's see, it has some really cool blind spot cameras. The only time I've ever seen this before was on I think the Honda CRV does something like this, but you turn the turn signal on, and then the left image, this left little on the left hand screen, there's a little picture of the on the left hand side, you'll see the camera will appear right on the dashboard when you're turning left, and it'll appear on the right hand side when you're turning right. So the side view cameras will show up there, and they give you a little bit of blind spot monitoring. I got used to that with my truck.
Is this in the front display or?
That's on the main display behind the steering wheel.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, behind the steering wheel. Yeah, it's part of the technology trim package. It's a very.
Tesla's got that a few months ago, and I always wondered who copies who. Like, did the Kia come out with this? And they're like, "Oh, good idea."
Yeah, right. Easy, and they did it over the air.
They did an over-the-air update, and now
Yeah.
left and right turn signals show you, an image.
Yeah, it's a very cool feature. Because like I said, it's got some weird blind spots because you can't tell where's what on it, you know? It's like one of the new stealth airplanes. Is it fuselage or wing? I don't know. Yeah. Go to the next slide. So the regen is phenomenal. It's the best. I've been doing a lot of these cars, but it's the best I've ever seen. It's all available through the paddle shifters. There's normal regen, and it's 4 up and 4 down. So 4 up on the regen gives you it will stop the car. 4 down on the regen, it'll glide like it's a 4,000-pound vehicle on ball bearings. I mean, it'll just go forever with no regen at all. And honestly, I can't tell what I like more. On the freeway, I don't want the regen. I like it to just coast because you're allowed. I can at least imagine myself hypermiling it with no regen.
Depends on if you're in traffic or not.
Now, when you get into traffic, then there's 2 modes. There's the I-pedal mode, which is absolutely one pedal driving, and
That's not the same as the four level.
It's
the
it's
fifth level.
all the way. It's kind of it's a long pause on the thing, and it goes into true one pedal driving, and this is like driving a car with. Like my wife did it right when we bought it. We went for a drive on Highway 1 up the coast, and she got it in 20 minutes. And it's like having a car with a 20-speed transmission. It's just as smooth as butter. You have power on your foot whenever you want it on every curve. You can coast in smoothly with 1 foot and pull out as quickly as you want. Accelerate like
And by one pedal driving, you mean that it. From just one pedal, anytime you take your foot up,
it stops the car.
it's braking.
Exactly. It's stopping the car. Yeah.
And it will hold it at
Absolutely.
stop.
Yeah. So imagine having like I don't know, Miata or something like that, and you're downshifting to find power to go up around those curves. Well, you're always right there. It's just as smooth as it can be from a one pedal perspective.
It's almost like instead of the pedals, 2 pedals being here and then going in, you've got 1 pedal that starts here, and this is full braking, this is full acceleration.
Yeah. And I can't imagine what that curve looks like from a power perspective, but it's absolutely flawless in the way they implemented it. It's really smooth.
What is that illustrating here, that curved surface on the right picture?
Oh, you'll see it when you get in the car. It's just one of the goofball graphics. I don't know why. It's just wasted space in my mind. There's some funkiness about that. I don't know what it does.
We'll be back soon or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's only a piece of it. I just wanted to show this part here, honestly, this little. So this shows it's in max or I-pedal. I think that says I-pedal. And this says max here or auto. And auto is like I-pedal, but now it integrates all of the cruise control features.
Dom's pointing at the text at the bottom of the 2 pictures.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Yeah, in the bottom left-hand side of both of those pictures, the one on the left says I-pedal and the one on the right says auto. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Who's ever using the mouse?
Cecilia.
So it has, thank you, Cecilia. So it has 3 levels of these regen features, and I used to always drive the Bolt in low and sport because that gave me the best driver feel.
Yeah.
This is way better.
Yeah, 1 pedal is really nice.
Way better than that.
So that's the difference for Maryland. That's the difference between a 2015 and a 2023.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's right.
There's even more.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm absolutely a nerd. I've read, 3 inches of the manual, right? The manual's 3 inches thick. Right. I know all the buttons and features. My wife's like, she just gets in and goes.
My wife too.
She just drives, right? And so she loves the car because it's easy to drive. I like it because I can nerd out on it, right? Go to the next slide.
It's too bad on the Nissan Leaf, the original Nissan Leafs, instead of having the big book, they also gave you a DVD with a whole bunch of movies for all the features.
Yeah.
When I got the 2018, it doesn't come with a DVD.
Oh. probably online now, right?
Maybe it's an
There are some very weird things, though. As much as I love this car, there's a couple of absolute head scratchers. It has driver profiles. You asked about that, Jerry, and the driver profiles are customized in all of the settings.
Okay,
So every nerd out thing you want to do to make the car your way, it's stored in your profile.
okay,
That's more than your seats. That's all your radio settings. You can have 16 radio settings or whatever the number is. I don't know if it's 16, and she can have a different 16. I don't know what the number is. The colors, everything about the car, you can customize it to you. And there's 2 profiles. Seatings, mirrors, radio, driver seating, all of it. But baffle above baffle, it has nothing to do with your fob. So when you get in the car, instead of it just going, oh, that fob is in the seat, therefore, no, you actually have to say, yes, it's me, or switch it on the console.
no phone, no fob.
Next year, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. The struggle with us is that I'm 6'2", she's 5'6". I can't get in the car
Until you hit the button.
until I hit the seat.
back.
That's how I want to get in my yes. That's how it's manifested weirdness to me.
You should write him a letter.
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah, it's the strangest thing.
Have you seen other newer vehicles that have it tied to the key fob?
I think they're all touched on a key.
Oh, okay.
But it should be tied, it should be tied to your phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, it should retract the seat as you're getting out and leave it retracted until you get in. And then it should figure out who you are based on your weight.
Oh, like a neutral.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Smart seat.
Like a smart seat. It's all power everything, so why not, right?
Tesla has an extra easy access setting so that you can
Right.
set it so that it's back and up.
Right.
If you have difficulty like lowering the body or something, and that way
Oh, yeah.
it kind of sets you up for how you get in, and then it shifts to how you go.
Yeah, this does the same thing. Yeah, this does that too. But the weird is just that's not linked to the fobs. And you would expect it to be linked to the fobs. The other one is the door handle. So the door handles, apparently in EVs, all door handles need to be conformal. Okay, so Tesla's got, you push on them, they pop out, right? The Ford does it a different way. They got a little funky hook handle on the Mustang. I'm not seeing what the ID4 does, but this one is you push in the front and you pull out the back. Right. And it's
That's the Model 3.
it's my wife, for her sized hands, it requires 2 hands to open the door.
Well, I have a question. Do you have a dog?
No.
Okay, fine. It wasn't your wife. I stopped a woman who was driving an EV6, and I said, "How do you like it?" And she said, "My husband bought it. It was going to be his car, but I like it so much. It's my car now."
Good plan.
And I said, "So what do you really like it?" She said, "Best car I've ever had, except for the door handles."
So door handles. So apparently on the GT line and the GT, the door handles pop out when you walk up to it. On the wind line, it doesn't do that. Whether it's software or hardware, I have no idea. But
They wanted to make it
because
so-
they don't pop out, you push in the front and you grab the back. I can do it. It's very weird. Every car I've owned that had modern cars have a touch sensitive unlock. When you walk up to it, you touch that little pad. That's been.
But the fob still unlocks the car the way.
The fob, yeah. So let me walk you through this. So the physical handles require you to actually push in the handle a little bit. It doesn't have a little capacitive touch sensor. It has a mechanical button, so you have to push the button in, and it's just weird. And then we still have not resolved when you need to unlock the rear doors. We like the safety feature of one unlocks the driver only, so as a getaway car, right? And 2 should unlock all 4 doors. But there's that middle state where wait, how come they're not just open? You know, it's really, these are just annoying things. And again, none of these things that reportedly are, it's all corrected on the higher trim levels. The driver storage, there's large storage areas, but no small storage areas. There's no obvious place to put your keys, your wallet, your glasses, all those little normal things that kind of rattle around. There's some cavernous spaces though. There's plenty of cavernous spaces, but no tiny ones. And then I think this is the ongoing epic battle with Apple CarPlay. It's a wired CarPlay only, not a wireless CarPlay. Okay.
Leaf is that way.
Yeah, Leaf is that way too. And I think because of the charging, I think they want to keep you in the Kia infotainment system. I don't think they want to delegate that to Apple because of the
It's becoming a trend.
because of the
Because of what? The charging?
yeah because of the
It's linked to other aspects of the whole car function.
because you can precondition the batteries using the navigation system. So to make sure that the batteries are at 72 Fahrenheit when you roll into the charger to maximize your charge rate. I think they're trying to keep you into the Kia infotainment system, which is tied to your navigation, which is with the Apple doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So if you're in Apple, it's done with the box of direction you roll up, you could be at 85 Fahrenheit or 55. Who knows?
So the big difference between having a Tesla and taking a road trip is you'll say, I want to go to Portland, they'll tell you where to stop and for how long.
Correct.
I haven't seen that yet. Equivalent
it's
non-Teslas.
I have
Anything like that?
Sort of, but not as good as the Teslas.
I mean, because I call the non-Tesla road trips an adventure,
They're an adventure.
plug share and map,
Yeah,
not as elegant
not as
as that.
right. No, and I think Kia does over the air updates, and I think they'll fix that. I think they're trying to get to the 95% solution first.
Did they come with a partnership with Electrify America or anything?
Yeah,
So they give you free a couple of years or
I
something?
got it's a 3 megawatt.
A megawatt hour?
A 3 megawatt hour over 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So
if you're a DoorDash,
yeah.
we got a guy that was charging up every day.
Yeah. So since we charge here, overnight,
Yeah, you barely use it.
Who knows when, right? Yeah. You know, the car's got 2,000 miles on it in 3 months, right? So.
So a better route planner is better than plug share if you're kind of.
Oh, you have another one?
Yeah.
There's another.
It's called a better.
Yeah.
Planner.
Better.
ABRP.
So these are kind of the things that I think that I don't understand some of these things, but other than these, the car is absolutely great. Any questions from that? Right at time here, so we go next slide.
I want to try the door handles when we go.
Yeah, they're weird. You'll get it. So I want to talk about charging a little bit. Optimized road trip charging speed with preconditioning. So if you set as waypoints on your road trip, you can set, I don't know how many. I'm trying that yet because we've gone very far. But you can set preconditioning in so that 30 minutes before your departure or 30 minutes before your stop, it will begin to optimize the battery to get it in. They kick the battery at 70 Fahrenheit and it'll cool it or heat it to get it there. And that'll allow the car to accept electricity at the fastest possible rate. What I've read online is that eats about a kilowatt hour, 1 to 2 kilowatt hours to optimize the battery for the conditioning system. We go to the next slide.
Well, I'm just looking at that, you got a gas powered car parked at the charging station?
Yes.
I think that's when you park behind the car and plug your car in.
Yeah.
There you go, double ice them.
Yeah, you've been high.
Quick question on that. You said earlier, maybe you'll touch upon it, is that charge to 100% thing.
Yeah.
And then also, I've run into this at some of these fast chargers. It's like they just got the car yesterday and they're trying to get to 100%. I'm like, it's down at 11 kilowatts or something like that. It's
Right,
like,
right.
oh, a proper way to educate them.
Yeah.
Don't bother on the fast chargers.
Yeah, Kia says go to 80 on a fast charger.
Right, they all,
Yeah, it's
all
good.
made it.
It's not worth, it's not,
They really take
it's
their
not
time.
worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So my sister was told to go to 100% regularly.
On what car?
Lithium iron phosphate.
I don't know why not. I mean, the battery on the side of the house goes to 100% every day.
Yeah.
No, why not?
It's a conception that you shortens longevity or something like that, but it
But
seems like the answer to that is,
I guess.
it depends.
It
Yeah.
depends.
Well, it depends on what.
Yeah, and you can take it to zero too. That's the other thing. That's the other
Wow.
freak out. You can go 100 to 0. Yeah, which I didn't.
Don't really want to.
I'm still thinking my lead acid from driving my trolling motor. Okay, it's 50% is pretty not.
Yeah, right.
So, but you can take it down to 0 and up to 100, which blew my mind.
Without damaging the
Without
battery.
damaging the
I
battery.
mean, you might get stuck, but
You might get stuck.
Yeah, and I wonder why the zero is an issue. If you think about how the chemistry actually works, you just end up with salts sitting
Wow.
down there and
It just stops. Yeah,
yeah,
we do it with everything else, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I did have a short video on, I couldn't figure out how to get the video in, but it pops up real fast. I mean, I took it, I charged at 25, I had it down to 20% and I charged, and it within a minute, it was at 200 kilowatt hours.
Where's the video?
I didn't put it in there, I could grab and load it in. I'm a PowerPoint Microsoft person. I'm only vaguely aware of it.
Oh, I could have helped you. Because I do that with the PowerPoint Microsoft and I link it, I put the video on the site.
Yeah,
I put the link right here and I link that to our site.
that assumes you know how to put it on the site. That's the problem I struggle with.
I could help you with that too.
Yeah, that's all right. So anyway, I started it holds really good. I mean, even at 90% or 85%, it's pushing 65 kilowatt hours.
That's amazing.
Which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I'm down at like
Yeah.
on the leaf, it goes down to like 8 or 9 when you get up to 90%.
Yeah, no, this is 65 and it was when I if I remember correctly, it was north of 200 well into the 60% range.
Okay.
And then it starts tapering off. It goes to about 6% and then it falls. It falls off like a rock down to 140 range and then it falls like a rock again.
Right there, you see the best I've seen is 210.
Yeah, the best I've seen is 210, but I've only tried it once. We charge here every day with our road trips. So.
Yeah.
So simply said, that means if you are on a big road trip and you do go up to a fast charger and you plug in, you just get in and out a lot faster.
You get in and out a lot faster. We went.
And you don't have to go as often because you can play with the far ends of the battery as well.
Yeah, the road trip the one road trip we did was Fort Bragg. We stopped at Willits. We charged at Willits, and it took longer to get lunch at Safeway than it did to charge the battery.
But to go to Fort Bragg and back, you should be able to do that on one charge. Can't charge.
From Willits, probably.
No,
Here.
From here.
yeah, I mean, you could,
It's
but
90
this
miles.
is the first time I drove the car. I was like, how much shit crap I believe.
Where did you go?
You didn't want your wife going,
I don't want
"Forget
her-
this mess."
First time I got in the car, I'm
You're a child.
That should be 240 miles round trip.
Oh, yeah, easy, yeah, and right now, I charged it to 100% last night, so the car is showing 310 on the dashboard right now, so. But it, like I said, when we went to Willits, we stopped on the way up, plugged right in. You know, Willits has had trouble keeping all four of both their 350s up. But
So they have Electrify American Road.
yeah, right, Willits had Safeway, yeah, so we hit it, topped it off. And we were there, like I said, it took longer to go to Safeway, deal with the Safeway side of it than it did to put, going from 60 to 90 or whatever it was. So it was phenomenal.
60 to 90%.
Yeah, it was really super fast. Yeah. So,
And Electrify America is all the gift to us for Volkswagen having cheated on their.
exactly.
The irony of
Is it
it.
really?
But I'm sure they're making money.
Dieselgate,
Right.
Yeah.
or Dieselgate or whatever it was.
Any questions from
Diesel.
outside the room? Hey, John.
Yeah, without meaning to sound like a critic, I have the physics kind of brain going on the word kilowatt hours. I want to help other people understand that, it's really common in the industry to say kilowatts and it means kilowatt hours and vice versa. Just kilowatt hours is the capacity of the pack, whereas kilowatts is the charge rate or the energy rate. Just
Yeah, you're right.
so that when we talk to people, we need to make sure they know that.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Ellen had a question about how much free charging you got, Dominic, and you said you got a megawatt.
Yeah, it's a megawatt, a megawatt hour over 3 years.
Over 3 years, okay.
Yeah.
The battery pack is
77 kilowatts, so that's
There you go.
12 chargers, 12, 13 full charging.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Is that at any charge station or certain ones or?
Electrify America.
Oh, Electrify America. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and our experience is it worked, it just, you plug in and it works. I wish it would just auto start and like Tesla's did.
Plug and charge.
Yeah, I wish it was plug and charge. I don't know why it's not. It seems like all there.
Mechanics are and protocols are there. but
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't do it.
Ford Pass has it with Electrify America.
They do.
Just
Plug
plug
in
it
and
in.
it works, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't successful with Electrify America. I couldn't get my credit card to work.
So let's see, couple things. So I wanted to just call out some of the things. 77 kilowatt hour battery. What is that? Onboard generator. So these are the things that going off the punch list. So it has B2L. I'll show you guys that are here, and an 800 volt battery system. 29. What is that? I wish I could read that. 29. Kilowatt hours per 100 miles. That matches my experience at about 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Yeah.
So that's not as efficient as the Leaf.
No.
The range that they advertise is equal to what you're getting.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying there?
Yeah, basically.
John, you're laughing.
What speed were you going at?
Oh, I drive. I mean, I'm doing 70, right? Yeah, I just drive the car like I'm driving a car.
Yeah, the range goes down.
In the range goes down.
Wind resistance is like the cube of the speed, I think.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
You probably get up into 4 or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But that'd be going slower.
Don, it mentioned that it had towing capacity. Does it come with a built-on hitch?
It's ready to accept a receiver, but nothing that I want to tow would I can tow with it, right? It's only
within there. It's like
2,500, 2,300 somewhere in there, a little over a ton.
Yeah.
Which is smaller than the boat and certainly smaller than the trailer.
So it's built for it.
Yeah. So if you want to tow something
That's where I put my bike rack.
bike rack, yeah, maybe I don't know, but depends on what bike. Those put a lot of torque on, a lot more ton weight than you think.
Not my road bike.
Certainly EV.
Bike racks are usually out on the hedge sometimes.
Yeah, bike rack would work, or a small teardrop, I guess you could do, or you could probably move with it if you were gonna get one of those small U-Hauls, probably move with it.
Yeah. I'm always looking to carry some wood from
Yeah,
the store and stuff like that.
yeah, something like that, that would work. Go back, there's a couple more points, Cecilia, I know we're running out of time here. So just FYI, these fueleconomy.gov, in the fine print, one of those words down there, they assume, I think it assumes a 14 kilowatt hour rate, which is half our SDP rates. So when I set my Bolt to Texas, my son pays 11 cents per kilowatt hour, right? And so here in California, where our SCP rates are 28 to 30 or something like that. So just FYI, every time we talk about regulations that increase taxpayer rates, and also just everything else.
Yeah, you kind of made about 14.
You should double
Yeah.
roughly double your annual fuel cost from your minimum stickers.
That's right, and if you're in the PG&E SCP area, but like you said, Ukiah, Elk Grove, my brother lives in Elk Grove, and he's down in the
Hillsburg is also
much cheaper than SCP. And then, darn the thinking, this would have qualified in 2022 for the IRA incentives.
Oh, but not 2023.
Not in 2023, because in 2023, especially between January and
April 18th.
April 18th. No, this was all Korean. It's all Korean. And so it does not qualify for either the California rates because of the California cutoff. So Kia says this is a compact SUV. The EPA says this is a large station wagon, which means that EPA wins, and that means that it doesn't qualify for the $60,000 rate in California. It qualifies, the cutoff is $45,000. So here's my Moroni, and I wish I could cut that off. I'm sorry. I think this out the door was 52 grand. When I first talked to Jim Bone Kia, they added a $9,000 market adjustment, and I said, I'm not paying a $9,000 market adjustment. Your opportunity to charge a $9,000 market adjustment evaporated when this became non-IRA capable. So that conversation has come to a close. Once I sell the car, I'll give you my service.
But
That's
next
funny,
year-
little babe.
Next year, this might.
The next year, they should
Their
be.
plans are to.
Do something in South
manufacturing here.
Carolina. I
Yeah.
think that's right.
When did you buy this car?
I bought it in April, March or April, this year.
When did the IRA incentives kick in? Are they ready?
January 1st.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Really?
For new and used
And
cars.
you,
Oh, for new.
for used, there is also, this is the first time.
But if you buy used, you have to buy from a dealer right
You have to
now.
buy from a dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an ongoing project where I'm talking like 6 or 7 used vehicle dealerships about the possibility of them doing a consignment sale for private party used EV transactions, but so far I haven't gotten any of them though. I mean, one person gave me a hard $6.95 fee, which is a lot for like 2 or 3 hours of paper.
Is it, but a broker is a dealer, so you should be able to go through Redwood credit unions, you still be able to use them as
So
a
I had a
broker.
total approach that
And they're
they
used to
had,
that.
and there were also California DMV registered or licensed auto brokers, which is a different class than a wholesale vehicle dealer and a retail vehicle dealer. There's also auto brokers, but I don't know any auto brokers.
Redwood credit union is a broker,
Yeah, so I haven't checked with them.
and they are $800 brokerage fees. That's
Who?
Redwood is $800.
Oh, okay, so this guy's actually hardly less.
Yeah,
They might acquire the car that you want.
yeah.
Right. You
They're
can go
very
to them
good.
and
Redwood is just, they're good.
find this even among used cars and they'll find.
Yeah.
So that one thing I did not consider was trying to find a used one of these.
Can't get any of them.
Not yet.
They're not there yet.
I know, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So-
But
I mean, they have a model from the previous year, but doesn't have any of this.
Right, yeah. So let's go to the next slide. I know we're over now. She's happy and what's that old saying?
And she's happy, you're happy.
That's the one. So that's the takeaway.
There you go. You did well.
Yeah, okay, but
Thanks, Don.
yeah, sure. Great car. If you guys want, we can go, for those of you who are here, we'll take a tour of it, and
For
anybody wants to
people,
drive it, go for a drive, yeah.
for people online, are you willing to stay on and experiment with us? We'll see if we can carry the camera or not. What do you think, Jerry?
I can carry the camera and
You got one of those.
the speaker I'm not too sure about, but
We could just carry that laptop up and use it as a speaker and a.
I'll get the camera hooked up on your.
All right, well, then I carry my things. What's that?
Is there a bathroom?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I missed the preamble. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I forgot to say.
Oh, President, wait, is there more we need to see before we walk out of the room?
You want to finish up?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Actually, guys.
Hopefully this guy.
We're gonna skip this part for now.
There's something.
Oh, I forgot to update this slide. Nothing new here.
I think,
Okay.
I think Tor had something real quick, if you wanted to
Yeah.
give Tor a minute.
Oh, about the carbon?
No, keep going. Let's see. Cecilia, go ahead.
This is our next meeting, will be June 10th. It'll be so far it's going to be on Zoom. We don't have a physical location yet, I'm aware of, nor a presentation lined up. So if you would like to present on something, you can email NBEAA-team@googlegroups.com.
Is Thunderstruck available in the future?
No.
No, okay.
It hadn't occurred to me that we can meet online. That's one of our options. And then in July, if we want, we might be able to meet at my place. Similar, more rustic.
And then surplus mobile home park, I can check with my manager about the clubhouse. I don't know.
That's a good.
That's just,
Yeah.
But it'd be a good thing to support.
Yeah.
I'd like to also check in some dealerships if they have some,
Okay.
I'd like to talk to Platinum in particular, the agenda, get them to do a brief, right? Or Nissan or.
Field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than 10 years ago, we did it.
Great.
Okay,
Can I hear it?
so see, anything else? Oh, and Tor has something.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So this is 2019, Cecilia and I did a road trip EV thing at the Sebastopol Grange. We call it the Sebastopol Carbon Conversations. Just got started doing them in person again in February, and this next month, June 7th, Wednesday night, is a EV focused. I'm kind of late sharing this with you guys, but I'd love to have somebody in the group share. I hope to have some cards and reach. And I'm June 7th, Wednesday evening. I will share the detail. I'm writing up the description right now, but there'll be a focus on affordability and some other issues really that we talked about. Hopefully we'll have some cars in the audience or in the parking lot for people to chat with. And this is Sebastopol Grange. So I need to do a little follow-up with, I wanted to have Ellen share her used vehicle experience. My daughter will share her used vehicle experience.
What time?
It's usually starts at 7, but you will have a 6 o'clock parking lot look at cars thing.
Okay.
Now it's June
7th, and I'll try to reach out. Whoever wants. Trying to get a mix of cars, but not just the latest and greatest. Your truck is pretty cool too. So once I get the flyer set up, I can share it out through this. But also, what's any thoughts on being there, or do you want to communicate later?
I agree right now.
Like a table?
Yeah.
Because you guys have all the information, extra information.
Yeah, we can. I can bring the literature we have at birthday.
I'll be in Settle on Wednesday. So cool.